Okay, well, we're getting ready here, guys, to welcome everybody. I'm just setting up the live stream as we speak, and I'm going to turn off the Into Space music for you. I'm Marty Mangella, the president of Rotary Club of Global Impact, number 224228. We're getting ready today with Tom Smith, and I'm going to put up our Rotary header for you there. And let me share, everybody's over here right now in the Google Meet. So let me go on ahead and share that screen and bring everybody in. Very nice indeed. And you'll notice Tom actually has his whole presentation up. So this is going to be good. It's been amazing to see the polio work worldwide. Just unbelievable that Rotary has been doing for a long time. And I must say, long before I joined and came around, that is for certain. That is for certain. These guys and gals have been very busy eradicating polio across the world. And today's special guest is going to be Tom Smith. He is our Rotary chairperson for polio eradication in District 7680. Tom is also a former governor. He's a member actually of Rotary Club of Charlotte South. Been a member since 1994. In 1994, that was my first full year at Camp David. I remember it well. I reported in 1993. And Tom is a third generation Rotarian who has served his club and its foundation in various roles. As you know, we Rotarians often will cycle through all types of roles. All they have to do is find out that you're interested in doing something. And many times, if you're not, you'll just be given the role anyway. But Tom's positions include health and happiness. He's been the speaker's chair, board member of the club's foundation, and club president from 2009 to 2010. He's a recipient of the club's Distinguished Rotarian Award. During his term as president, he was instrumental in updating the club's bylaws. I know Patty's smiling there right now, just thinking about the bylaws. These reflected the current club organization. And of course, Rotary is evolving, ever evolving. The club won the District Gold Level of Excellence and Best of the Best Club Award during his tenure. And he's been an active participant in club service projects over the years, ranging from bus captain for the club's signature project, Beach Blast, to manual labor and garden projects at the men's shelter in McCreesh Place, and a mentor at Myers Park High School Afternoon Academy. Tom has served, as I mentioned, as the district governor for 2016 to 2017. And he's been, of course, an assistant governor for the district for years, especially during 2012 all the way through 2015. And he's a leader as an assistant facilitator and mentor. Of course, I think if you're looking at Tom's profile in DACDB, don't forget to go into DACDB, log in there, use your password. But you'll be amazed, like I've been. Tom's a benefactor. He's a member of the Bequest Society. He's a Paul Harris Fellow, like myself and many of our other members, a sustaining member, a Paul Harris Society member, and a major donor. And when we were at his house, Stormy and I and Rotakid member Rainia, it did not go past us the fact that we noticed that he is an Arch Clump Society member, which is honestly one of the highest levels of giving in the world and Earth history, that you can join into the Arch Clump Society for Rotary. So that takes big bucks. We only have 2 members in our club that are Arch Clump Society members, and it generally starts at $250,000. So you can see, I think, just with his wallet, his level of commitment and love for Rotary. And so without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Tom Smith.
Oh, thank you. And I do hope y'all can see my screen properly. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. And polio has been one of my passions in Rotary. You know, when we got this thing started back in the late 70s and early 80s with some smaller projects in the Philippines, that turned out to be very successful. And then we decided to do all the Philippines. Then we said, oh, well, maybe we can do this elsewhere and try to eradicate polio around the world. And a lot of people second guessed us and said, there's no way you're ever going to do this. But once we got the Philippines cleaned up, all of a sudden there were organizations like the World Health Organization and others that became believers. And through that, what formed was the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which Rotary is one of the founding members of, along with the WHO, the CDC, and a number of other organizations, which we'll talk about later. But they got the ball rolling. And what you really see is through all of these efforts, we've made a huge difference in wild, I call it wild polio, but polio in the world, because it was afflicting. Here, this is where we were in 1988 when we officially started. All of Africa had polio. Parts of Central and South America, most of Asia had polio. And we were having approximately 350,000 paralytic cases of polio a year. Huge number. Now you look to where we are currently. The Western Hemisphere's done, Europe's done, and you see, I'm not sure if you can see where Afghanistan and Pakistan are up here with the lighter color.
Yes.
Those are still the two endemic countries that we have. The darker shading areas you see are where we're having issues with vaccine-derived polio, which we'll talk later. But, Afghanistan and Pakistan are just down to a handful of cases. And it's because of access. And it's very difficult to get into some of these high mountain areas up there. India's been done. It's just amazing how far we have come. And so you go look at who is this umbrella organization that we work through: WHO, UNICEF, CDC, Rotary. We are money, political influence, publicity, and manpower. All of that. The Gates Foundation, joined in 2007. And what is now called Gavi joined in 2019. Before that, there was another umbrella of vaccine manufacturers that helped get the vaccines. So it's this whole thing that comes together, and this umbrella raises money from not just Rotarians, but from governments around the world and major donors around the world, because as we'll see later, it costs close to $1 billion a year to run this program, to go and fight and eradicate polio. It is an amazing operation that it takes. And here's where we are. The last update I got from GPEI was updated on February 7th. So far, they have not reported a case of polio this year. Now, I say this is not the time of year when you see most of the polio cases. Most of it is more in the warmer weather months, because some of y'all may be very familiar with polio, some may not be. It is basically transmitted through fecal matter from humans that gets into us, typically through orally, but it could be cuts through contaminated water. The virus lives in the human gut. It gets shed as we excrete, and in places where you have poor water and sanitation, it gets into the waterways and can live for a while before coming into contact with somebody who is not vaccinated and infecting them. That's the kind of the long and short of it, is that it is a virus, but it's not an airborne virus. It's not a true contact virus. It is an intestinal virus. And it's actually a relatively small number of cases, percentage-wise, becomes paralytic polio. Most people who contract it get something more similar to the flu. They get sick, but they don't get paralyzed. It does not seem to, most cases do not transmit to the nervous system where the paralytic polio comes from. But you can see last year we did pretty blasted good. And I will say, if you look at Afghanistan, it's way down. And one thing has come to light there is that the current government there is been very open to vaccinations, trying to get support around the world, and has allowed access. So that has been a fortunate consequence of that government changeover there, because they were a pretty big issue not but a few years ago, and hopefully they will get done. Pakistan is still where it's centered, but it is centered up in an area, and I can't pronounce part of the name. It's up in the Khyber, it's called Pashtuni area. It's up in the mountains on the border with Afghanistan, and the cases with Afghanistan are related to the cases from Pakistan. They're all in the same area, pretty much high mountain pass areas up there. And that's where we've kind of corralled it up into a smaller area, which is very good. You'll note that last year in 22, we had some cases in Mozambique. Now, Africa is technically polio free, wild polio free. These cases, and the one you see in 2021 in Malawi, were all from the same area on the Malawi-Mozambique border, but the virus is traced back to Pakistan. That means an infected individual or several came from Pakistan to that area and infected people who were not vaccinated in that area. Truly shows that we're an airplane ride away from infection anywhere in the potential infection anywhere in the world, which is a reason we have to finish this job. Since those cases in earlier last year, Mozambique's been pretty quiet. We think we got Malawi and Mozambique back under control. They did about a 5-country, very hard effort down there for the last year and a half or so, and they believe it's getting under control. But you never know until you go an extended period of time without. But that is really non-native to Africa polio that showed up in Mozambique and Malawi. So it came from Pakistan. Very, very difficult. Last year we ended up with 30 cases. That is up from the 6 in 2021, but you have to remember that 2021 was the COVID year. People weren't moving around. I don't think many parents were letting their children out to play. And I think one of the results of that is the children weren't getting exposed. The potential of getting exposed was very limited. So there was a fortunate, impact of that. But we're way down from where we were in 2020. So we've come a long ways. We haven't had any cases yet this year. But as the year gets warmer, the potential will go up. Let me see if I get to the right one. Here is kind of the long term, the way this is run down. And you'll see back in 2016, 17, when I was governor, we thought we were right on the edge of it happening then. But the numbers popped back up in 19 and 20. Now we're way back down. And you'll see on the right side of the page that the heading CVDPV. You say, what is that? That is circulating vaccine-derived polio virus. As you know, we give these children a oral vaccine. That oral vaccine is a weakened live vaccine. It was genetically engineered to live kind of pretty much robustly in the human gut, give the immune response that we want, but not transmit to the nervous system. Now, as it is a weakened live virus, it does get passed into the ecosystem. And if you have people who are not vaccinated with poor water sanitation, they could become exposed to it. Now, if they get exposed to somebody who had the vaccine, there is this remote chance after that virus living in the wild for many, many, many generations, probably a year to 18 months, if that cycle is not broken, it could mutate back into a, let's say, more virulent form. It was an unfortunate side effect that we found out about. We thought these, if you look at 2012 through 16, this relatively small number of cases, and we're giving out 450 million vaccinations a year. The thinking was that it was actually coming from the vaccine. The reality, it was coming through mutations of the vaccine after it passed through many generations through the system. So that's why in 2016, we were down to 5 cases. And they said, okay, let's take out the main cause of vaccine-derived polio, which is our type 2 vaccine. Because there's 3 types of polio in the world. And type 2 and type 3 have been eliminated from the world. So they said type 2 is where we're seeing most, if not all, but most of the vaccine-derived cases. We think it's from the vaccine. Let's get rid of it. So they took it out of circulation, and we're just giving the type 1 and type 3, because the type 3 was the African form that had pretty much just recently been eliminated out of Africa. And they said, okay, let's do that. And the thinking ended up being wrong, because it wasn't directly from the vaccine. It was from the vaccine, the virus mutating over many generations. So we had a number of years until well into the end of 21, early 22, when we re-implemented a type 2 vaccine that they created on an emergency basis that was very genetically stable. And in theory, it will knock these vaccine-derived cases in just a matter of a year or two down to a very low level again. So the thinking, conventional wisdom was it came directly from the vaccine, but it didn't. It's because we still have too many places where the water sanitation methods are poor and the populations are not fully vaccinated. So it was able to live in the wild, and very unfortunate, but we seem to have a handle on that now, and hopefully those numbers will go way down. But that I just want to bring that to your attention, because that is a important issue in finishing off this whole job as we do it. Just give you a quick update on Africa. You know, in 2020, we did have Nigeria/Africa declared polio free. The last remnants of wild polio in Africa were in Nigeria, and mostly up in the northern part of the country, where they had unrest, and the government didn't control the whole areas, and we didn't have access for a number of years. Once that resolved itself, they were able to finish off the type 3 polio, which was very good. And then you'll see that we had the case of type 1, which is the type from Pakistan and Afghanistan, show up in Malawi. Then we had 8 last year in Mozambique. Again, all traced to Pakistan. Circulating vaccine-derived polio is an issue on the continent, and that's where most all of the cases are. And this new polio type 2 vaccine that we got in use late 21 should solve that problem. Let me get to the next page. You know, we have had tremendous progress in polio eradication. I mean, it wasn't until 1994 that we finished eradicating polio in the Western Hemisphere. I remember when I was young, one of my good friends' older brother had polio, and I was born to where I had the sugar cube several times at elementary school when I was very young. And I know a number of people who've had either siblings, aunts and uncles or whatever with polio. So we don't have it now, but it wasn't that many years ago. The 40s and 50s in our area, polio was real impactful. I mean, if you read the newspapers at the time back in 1943 and 1944 around here, front page was what was going on with polio as much it was with World War II. That's how impactful it was in the area. We had polio hospitals in Charlotte, Greensboro, I believe Hickory, Catawba River Basin, and others nearby river basins all were severely impacted with polio. And it wasn't up until the 50s when the vaccines came out that things get under control here. So it's amazing what can be done with access and commitment. Europe, and this was really some parts of Eastern Europe were finished off in 2002, India in 2012. There was a lot of people thought we would never be able to get India done because it is a very large, very diverse country. It has a lot of economically challenged areas with slums that you had to deal with. So you had some tough conditions, but the Indian government and the people involved over there were very committed. They had a plan and they made it work. And so far, so good in India. It's very, very good. Nigeria had the same efforts. They had a plan and we made it work. So 2 of the 3, viruses are gone. So if you look at it, over 18 million children haven't gotten paralyzed with polio. Over 1.5 million have not died from it. So it is amazing what we have done. And this is a fact sheet on vaccine-derived polio, probably hard to read, but I think we kind of covered it pretty much already. This is an issue that we are very attuned to, and it is getting addressed at the same time as the wild. Unfortunate consequence of the vaccine we use. Anytime you use live vaccine, this is a potential issue, but we believe we have got it pretty much done. Because if you look at the individual number of cases of vaccine-derived polio for type 1 and type 3, there are a total handful out of that 600-odd cases we had last year. They're virtually high 90% of type 2. So that's where the target is for that. How do we break this up? We have and will continue until we have this done, vaccinate 450 million children a year. That is a huge undertaking that Rotary helps coordinate. It is amazing. We have the environmental surveillance. We have the health networks. I mean, the health network that does this has 50,000 paid employees and over 200,000 more volunteers that work with it. It is amazing the amount of people that go into this effort. The goal here is to, once we get the cases done, we will discontinue the oral polio vaccine. In the US and most of the Western world, the polio injectable vaccine is part of the childhood shot regime. Children should get in their routine course of childhood shots 3 polio vaccinations. And that's the dead injectable kind. There's 0 chance of contracting polio from it. And I personally have taken a polio booster, and it's good for anybody. And once you get, if you've ever been vaccinated and you take a booster, you are considered protected for life. And given stuff is moving around the world, I don't take any chances, and I go to a number of countries where the risk is there. So I don't take any personal chance myself. But we will continue with these programs for a number of years after the last case is done. And the goal is that this year, the next year, that the number of wild cases goes to zero, then we sustain it for 3 years. And sometime later in the 20s, we have multiple years of zero cases and the wild polio is gone. Okay, here's our challenges. Think about this. We got to have $1 billion a year. That's tough, especially when economic times are hard. We have to vaccinate all the children. And our target audience is children under 5, is to have them vaccinated 3 times prior to by the age of 5. That is the goal. Now, this vaccine is a live one. It does need cold storage. It's not like the mRNAs where they have to be frozen, but it's still, they have to be cold. And getting cold vaccine to remote areas of the world is a challenge. I mean, when they go to some of those high villages in Pakistan and Afghanistan, sometimes you're on a donkey trail to get up there. So it is very, very difficult. We have our workers that we have to pay. And the challenges, poverty, isolation, poor sanitation, that is the biggest problem. We've had issues with religious objections. We've had issues with conflicts. If you have a civil war going on, it's very difficult to do anything. And there are people in certain populations that will not use vaccinations. I know that some of y'all may have heard that there was a polio case in New York last year. And it was a case of vaccine-derived polio that was in a teenage gentleman from a Hasidic Jewish community outside of New York City. And that community does not believe in vaccinations. So it's very difficult because there's a number of religious groups that do not believe in vaccinations. Very tough. That particular case was traced genetically to environmental samples of polio in the water that were shown to be found in New York City's system, London system, and traced all the way back to Israel. So they believe the source came from Israel. And that same strain was found not just a few weeks ago in the sewer system in Montreal. It was, a vaccine-derived polio environmental sample was located it's back the first of the year. So it's out there and it can travel. Now that meant more than likely that the initial person probably had the disease, didn't know didn't have a bad case, didn't know they had it, and spread it around. That is what happens with this. And then if you have people where you have poor sanitation, because if you have real good sanitation systems, the chances of getting exposed are pretty slim. But if you have poor sanitation areas and under-vaccinated populations, you can get exposed. I know the county where the gentleman was in New York, the vaccination rates of all childhood diseases in that county is less than 40%, which is a shame. Because nationwide in the U.S., we're in the middle to high 90s. And that's where we need to be on these type things. So there are certain pockets out there. So it's very difficult, very difficult. And how does Rotary work into this whole equation? Our commitment each year is to raise $50 million from our members. The Gates Foundation matches that 2-for-1, so that 50 million ends up turning into 150 million, which is a significant portion of the overall budget of just under $1 billion. Now, we have met that $50 million for the last number of years, and we hope we will continue to do that. We need y'all's support to do that. Our particular zone has a $2 million goal, which we have reached in recent years. Last year, and this is the Rotary year, which of course runs July to June, our goal was $102,000. We fell short at just over $84,000. Our goal this year is $99,000. And I am happy to report that giving year to date, we're at $77,375. So we are basically 77% of the way there with, just not much more than half of the year done, which is fabulous. Your club has been very impactful. Members have given $800. That is, getting there. That is good because there's a number of clubs that we have the zero by for member giving, which is very unfortunate. So we want to make a difference. And one way we've been making it, I know y'all have some people participated in this, is the PolioPlus Society. This is where we have Rotarians commit to give $100 or more a year until we finish eliminating polio from the world. And it is a commitment form that we ask people to sign. Then on the honor system, they go and make the donation. I do not at this time keep track of that you've actually done it or not. I believe there's supposed to be some updates coming soon to where I can have better visibility of who has or hasn't given on this side. But right now, the way the system's set, I can't see the individual giving. So if you tell me you're going to give $100 or more, I trust you. And that's what it is. And I know that, Martin, you came to the polio party, and we have a little mascot here. He's Storm. And Storm didn't have polio, but Storm is a cancer survivor. And after having cancer, he managed to break his rear leg. So he's got a bit of a limp to him. So he plays the part pretty well. So I've taken him out to club visits in various places. And he's a good little champion for the cause. But with that, I will just open it up to questions. And I know there's plenty. And in the time I have, I'm trying to give as much information as possible. But ask, and I will share.
Yes, sir, Tom. Thank you so much for an excellent presentation with a lot of really good math. First question today is from Dr. Rodriguez down in Lake Wales, Florida.
Yep.
Great. Hey, listen, great presentation. What I wanted to ask about, because you were right, we were so close in Afghanistan and Pakistan. In your opinion, are those rural areas trying to get up in those mountains and the acceptance, do you believe, because in 2021, we had that same situation, Mr. Smith, where
Yep.
we were trying to get up in those mountains. So have we gotten to that point that we believe we can eradicate in Afghanistan and Pakistan, in your opinion?
Afghanistan, I would say, is probably the quicker of the two, because I'm sorry, hold on a second.
Yeah, it's no problem, guys.
Well, we have a handicap hearing phone in our kitchen for my mother-in-law, and it rings so loud that it's very difficult. But I was on a call, I guess it was probably a year and a half ago now, and we had the head of the Pakistani effort on the call. And we were going through the whole thing. He was talking about their efforts, and what they've been doing basically is squeezing the disease farther and farther up into, clearing all of these areas and getting it up into this one area, which has kind of been the core, then kind of chip it down. But what came out in the conversation, he says, Pakistan failed Afghanistan in that at that time, there had been 2 prolonged periods of time in Afghanistan with no cases, and it came back over the border from Pakistan into Afghanistan. So it shows it can be done. And we do get the access, and the Taliban is allowing the workers to go to those remote areas. They want the international assistance. And I guess there is nobody, they have full control of the country, so there's nobody hindering our access anymore. We don't have warlords that have their fiefdom set up and you have to go through them. So they're allowing it, so that's good. Pakistan, the issue is still, it's remote. There are tribal issues in these places, but it seems that the commitment from the government is there. Politically, Pakistan has had some ups and downs, and will probably continue to have ups and downs. And then you're at the whim of the new government. But they've been real committed to do this, and I believe we will get there. It's just because the area has been compacted down to a smaller and smaller area. When you're down to one region or one province versus having it one here, one there, one ever, it's all kind of it's been kind of beaten up into one place, so where you have to go to finish it. So it makes it easier on that side. That's my opinion.
I would say we got so close. That's why I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
we got so very close.
We got so close, and we will get there again.
I just wanted to make a comment to what Tom had mentioned. You can see here on our district website that in the 1950s and 60s, I was born in 65, virtually every single person in the United States of America knew someone in their family or their circle of friends who had polio. And in the early 50s, there were 55,000 cases of polio in America. So that's every year. You can see the stunning, shocking, nightmarish situation of 55,000 people. And I always think about President Roosevelt in his wheelchair, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And he actually used to be a virile young man that was sailing and, running all around. It wasn't until his 30s that he contracted polio and became a cripple. And that's why
he went on a summer vacation in Maine and was up at a Maine lake, and all of a sudden he came down with it, just struck him down.
Just minding his own business, trying to live his life as a kid.
Yeah, but back then nobody knew. They had no idea where it came from. They started to figure out later, especially in the 50s, that it was a summertime disease and it seemed to be associated with water. That's why at the height of the polio problems down this way, all the public swimming pools were closed. Nobody would let the kids go to the water, but because they were figuring out it was something to do with the water, but they didn't really know what. And there was a lady who passed away, I'm thinking it's probably 5 or 6 years ago now, over in Shelby, North Carolina. She was in an iron lung until she passed away 5 or 6 years ago. Wow. She lived in iron. She was the last person living in an iron lung in this country.
Wow, here in Shelby.
Shelby, but she had it back from the 50s.
Unbelievable.
She was a small child.
Anyone else for a next question?
And I'll say one other thing. past Rotary President Ravi Ravindran, his mother came down with polio. And her father, Ravi's father was a Rotarian. And they located in a matter of a couple days an iron lung, and she was in the iron lung, I believe, for 6 months before she recovered enough to breathe. But they were able to get an iron lung and her into it in time to save her, and she lived in it for 6 months before she was able to get out.
Wow.
So that put, let's say, Ravi understood what this disease was. So he was a great.
My wife, who you had met, Tom, Stormy just mentioned there was a lady that lived in an iron lung in Jackson, Tennessee. Any other questions today for Tom? Oh, it looks like Pauline has a question. Dr. Pauline Crofter of Las Vegas.
Hi, thank you so much. That was an amazing presentation. And my father had polio when I was about 4 or 5, so it would have been in the 50s. He was very fortunate. It only affected the bottom half of his left leg, and he just limped. But he had a family of 3 at the time, and I'm sure it was very, very scary for all of them. So it's very encouraging to know that we've got to this stage of nearly eradicating it. So thank you very much. And in fact, it's my father's anniversary of passing today. He was 91 when he died. So, and he was always a great Valentine's man. So I celebrate him and the eradication of polio. Thank you all.
Just
I have
amazing.
one question. Did he, in later years, get what they call post-polio syndrome, where the affliction came back to some degree in the inflicted area?
No, I mean, he literally had no muscle on the left leg from the knee down.
Okay.
So it took the muscle away. But he was amazing. He did manage to dance his way through his life. So
because there's a lot of the survivors who recover and appear to live normal lives, and once they get up into their 60s and 70s, the muscles that are there start to give out, because the speculation is that they were kind of the muscles that took over for the ones that were afflicted, and the nerves took over ones that were, and they actually over time have been overused and burned out. And a lot of people end up back in wheelchairs later in life who suffered but recovered from polio. So it is an issue that's happening now to survivors, that a number of them are getting, unfortunately, weakened and back into wheelchairs. And I'll say this, one other past Rotary president, John Germ, his father had polio. And John's told the story where he had taken them all down fishing to the Tennessee River in Chattanooga, and been down there. They evidently went quite often, and they were down there, and all of a sudden he couldn't get up. So they had to get help. Ended up he had polio. And having polio when you're a brick mason is not a good thing for your livelihood. So that's why John has been so committed to polio eradication his entire life. So
absolutely. Thank you today to Tom Smith for being our guest, past district governor. It's been our honor to have you as our guest, Tom. And a special thanks also to Quanta Dawn Light, who is going to run over to the turkey meeting. We did have another $100 donation today from Nurse Anab Ali, who is the president of the Rio Rack Foundation. She just donated $100 to Turkey through the foundation at Rotary Foundation. So I know Dr. Rodriguez will be very pleased. He is our foundation chairperson following all of these donations. And I would like to echo some things Tom said. Stormy and I are members of the Polio Society. It's $100 per year if you'd like to join. And then I'm also a part of the Polio monthly donation club with Rotary Foundation. It's just $10. And honestly, we have had people ask, like, how insulting or degrading would it be if Marty, I go on to the foundation website and I donate $1 to Turkey. And I told him, I said, get on there, because I mean, we have 1.4 million members. If everybody gave $1, $1's fine. Don't be insulted. That's, you could give, like, they said, like, I don't want anyone to know, Marty, but I like $10 for the year. I was like, you could do $1 to Ukraine, $1 to Turkey, $1 to Pakistan, $1 to Puerto Rico, $1 to Florida, and $1 to polio, and you'd only be at $6. So, but if everybody did that, it adds up to, like Tom said, millions and millions of dollars. Just
every dollar to all of the causes that Rotary supports is just helps so much, because there are so many of us. There's a lot of us, and together we can do things that individually we couldn't have an impact on. Individually, I can't have that much impact on any one of these causes, but all of us giving something here, coming together, we make a real difference.
Absolutely. And I know Dr. Rodriguez is proud of the fact that every single member in our club has given last year. When you look at the charts, every single member of our club has given to the foundation in some way, shape, form, or another. Dr. Rodriguez, before we begin our regular meeting, I would just like to say thank you to Tom Smith, past district governor, and we will be sending him a certificate from our certificate chairperson of participation, a gold certificate. And we have Farah to thank for that, Juan Farah Ahmed, for all of the work that she's done on sending the certificates out to everybody in the club. A huge round of applause for her. So we want to thank you again, Tom, for being our guest today.
And I will get off and let y'all do your normal business. Thank you. Thank the club for all their support. And you should have the PolioPlus Society forms available. And if you do, just members fill them out, send them in, and at their leisure, make donations in any manner they need to do it. Some people make the full $100 right off the bat, and some do the $10 a month or whatever it may be. All the support's appreciated, and it's going to an extremely worthy cause, and we will beat polio.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day. Thank you so much.
Have a great one, Tom.
Okay,
I'd
you
like
too.
to turn it over now to President-elect Dr. Crawford for her bi-monthly message. Dr. Crawford over in Las Vegas is recently returned from the president's training, which the club financed and took care of in Los Angeles. She elected, because it was a bit closer, to travel to Los Angeles for what's called PETS training, President-elect Training Seminars, PETS. I had gone last year in Greensboro, and our next president after Dr. Pauline is Patty of New York. Patty's already attended and graduated. So without further ado, President-elect Dr. Crawford.
Hi there. It looks like it's the wrong way around, but this is the banner for the for Gordon McAnally's mission, as you can see. Can you all see that?
Yes.
So create hope in the world. So I think that's a very good theme, and for me it aligns very much with my hope for harmony. So I kind of add a line on for our club as hope for harmony. But I love the symbolism and everything around it. So I just want to say in my message that gratitude to the club for paying me to go to the 3 days. It was amazing, overwhelming, exhausting, exciting. I met a lot of people. And one of the things I think really resonated for me is that we're quite a different kind of club. So when you're going around and I was saying, well, where's your club chartered? I was saying, well, I'm living in Las Vegas, I'm from England, and my club's chartered in North Carolina. It's kind of, what? So what's that all about? And I think we should make the most of that, about the uniqueness of the fact that our presidents won't be in the district. So Patty's not in the district, and after that it could be Johannesburg or London or wherever. And I know there are other e-clubs, so I'm not saying we're totally unique, but I think making the most of, creating hope in the world. We are about the world. And I think it gave me a lot of thoughts that I have still to drill down. But I think it's making the world a smaller place. If we create hope in the world, it's a bit like what we've just heard about with eradicating polio. That's the world coming together to solve a problem. It doesn't make us all the same. It does actually makes us all different, but part of the same cause. And that for me is something that's very important, is we honor every member's individual and unique culture, be it my own from Great Britain, which is now the UK, which is, so over my nearly 74 years this year, my life has been through lots of different iterations in terms of cultures. And now we are looking at the global world of many, many cultures, but we're all human beings. So creating hope in the world with harmony, I think that is the thing we need to really get to know each other, really get to know each other, find out what our superpowers are, what our unique quirks and wonderful things, but really get to know each other and understand all our different cultures and what makes us the same as human beings and what makes us different as human beings. So that's my message for today. And I celebrate Valentine's Day with you all. I celebrate the passing of my father, who passed away 20 years ago now, but he was 91 at the time. And he was the most loving, wonderful man in my life. He was a true gentleman. And when we were kids, he always gave my sister and I Valentine's cards. So, when we were 13, 14, 15, there was always a Valentine's card there. So that's my message for today. So thank you all. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Stormy, who's here. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Miguel, Jean, Willie. Let's go out, Anan and Ab as well. Hello. Let's go make hope in the world, hope in our world.
Thank you so much, Dr. Crawford. I'd like to throw it over to Chairperson of the Foundation, Dr. Rodriguez down in Florida. Any update or things that you'd like to update us on, Mike? I know Doris Elaine Smar has paid her $500 also to become a Paul Harris Fellow, and Mike is working on that. Any updates, Mike?
I think I spoke to Patty on the forms, and Patty, you got the 2 forms that go with transferring the points and the validation. I even noticed from the last time when we went to actually find out, when we had the opportunity to match points, it's changed again. The only difference in that I seen it was in the validation of it. So as we, Doris, as we go forward, hello, you look great. Want to let you know, a couple clubs do it a little bit different. And that is they have a Paul Harris Fellow Day where we put all our names together and we make our presentations all at one time. That's one option. But either way, we do have the paperwork down of what's required on that. And we did get clarification. And Patty, I think you have the forms itself.
Yes, so we're just giving everybody the allowance of time because we do have a deadline. So because it's a one-time form. So we're gonna wait to allocate all the, right? Is that correct?
I think that would be a club choice. How, Pauline just we are unique.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out how to, how to present it. I attended 2 meetings this week in 2 other clubs, and one of them was doing an E-style, and I realized even they were different. they did a Paul Harris Fellow presentation where they do a matching points. But it didn't come across the same. So I'll just say this. We do have the paperwork. We will be sending it forward to Chicago. Our end of it is exactly what we knew, and that is the person donating the 500 points validates it, and then in turn we validate the donation, and those are put together, and then we make sure that you receive the award at your house. That was the other thing. Did you see that on the paperwork? So of course we meet online. So at that point, you know, we would figure out, did you get it? You know, and hold that up. So that's where we're at on the Paul Harris fella and the foundation. I think we've got it pretty well straight. The two forms are pretty self-explanatory, so they'll be passed among us. Martin, initially, it was the president had to sign off on the validation, and then when we spoke to them again, they said no. Okay.
That's good. It makes it even easier. They can just put them in.
Well, we're just giving the forms then, and let's move on. And that's what we've done. So Patty, you have the forms that we would meet, because like I said, it wasn't about creating paperwork. It was about passing it. You know, we can pass it like we do through the internet, you know, send it in. Where do you want it mailed? I want it mailed to my house. Okay, I got it. The other things are covered. We did ask a couple other questions along the way. You know, it's always safe to check on Chicago, to tell you the truth, because they're trying to be creative on certain things, on restructuring.
Good. I think Anab has maybe a question for you, Mike, regarding the foundation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Say again.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes, good afternoon. And it's already afternoon, 2 minutes after in my place, Virginia. I wanted to just say thank you so much. It's my first time joining the International Rotary Club. And I wanted to thanks Marty for my name. That was not necessary, but regardless, I enjoyed listening, and I really thank you so much for the impact that you guys are doing all over the world. It was amazing to learn about the polio. I had a question if there was something else. I understand every time you take different things that you guys working on. So hopefully in the future, we'll look into other issues that is so prevalent in Africa and elsewhere, like malaria and, you know, whatever you guys working with, it's all needed all over the world. So I think this club and all of your branches are doing wonderful job. I'm glad to be a member, and I wanted to just say, you know, shout out to all of you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Marty, and I recognize Tommy and Patty. Thank you, all of you. I'm late for a few minutes for another meeting, but I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Anab. Yep, we're thinking about Somaliland, and we do hand out that 161 million per year. It's all grants, nothing to pay back. So we look forward to doing more work in Africa with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. Bye now.
Good one. Dr. Crawford had a question about her $100.
Well, I was just checking in that we were talking about everybody in the club putting $100 in. I know Doris Elaine has put 500 in, which is fabulous, but it's $100. Are we getting there on the $100 of each?
Yeah, we are getting there. More and more people are donating. Elaine has donated. Stormy and I have done our 100. You did yours. Of course, that donation that Anab did today will count her immediately. And Mike is able to access those reports at Rotary.org.
Yeah.
And so can you, Pauline, but you kind of have to sign in with your login and password at Rotary.org. And then you go into the Club Central where the club private information is. And it actually knows that you're a president-elect or that Mike is a chairperson of the foundation. So it will only allow certain reports in Excel to be either downloaded as a PDF or even viewed on the screen with private information. But we keep sharing those in the Friends of Rotary group on WhatsApp. They're Excel sheets and PDF documents. And
So,
I've noticed like more and more names are being added and it's getting bigger and bigger.
yeah. Does this connect to what Faraz Pira was offering?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Michael talked
Yes.
about that.
Okay.
It does connect. As he says, it matches it point for point. So the $100, that's 100 points. But again, I do want to remind what Martin always says. When you go to donate, make sure you log into Rotary.org.
Please do not do a donation at Rotary.org without logging in.
Wherever you want to, but that is the key to making that spreadsheet.
That's the only way the club gets credit. That's the only way the foundation gets credit. That's the only way the district gets credit. And as Tom mentioned today, we are impacting and affecting the zone, which encompasses, the Eastern Seaboard and all of the Caribbean. We're part of Zone 3334 with Jeremy Hurst, the president out of the Cayman Islands. So everything we do, we want to make sure that we log in with our login and password at Rotary.org. And it's a pretty simple process. If you forget it, there's a forgot password utility there. You can reset your password. It's pretty easy to get in.
Yep.
I just want to say before I bounce, I have a 12:30. The foundation and on those points, again, I think we do have a grip of that. And again, the cutoff for that is on June. And I say that because everybody doesn't have $500. So if you're going to participate, find a way to set some money off to the side, but he's given us till June to make that happen.
Yeah.
So,
I think Stormy is going to be the next one. I'm going to be doing 500 with her for hers. And Firoz was like, don't use your points because I have about 1,400. He said, just let me handle it because he's got about 69,000 points.
Right.
So update today from Secretary Patty in New York.
Update is, well, we're going to be supporting our other Rotary members, the Shannons. They're launching today on Kiva. That's for Africa, MediPro Health. Did I say it? Did I mess it up?
Yeah, telemedipro.com.
Yeah, so we're going to be supporting them. Today's their official kickoff day, even though they did launch and did really, really well. So, of course, we're going to support our Rotarians and continue with that. We had a couple of new members, and Alice and Christopher. Also, we have our list of guests are up to the 40s now. So our club is reaching, between guests and members, we're reaching the 100 mark, which is really exciting. And again, it's nice to know that we did confirm that we are now ready to roll with global grants because we are at 100% for the foundation. So kudos to all our members for contributions. And now we're going to go for the Paul Harris. We have till June. So let's get going. And I'm on auto. I'm doing auto. So when I get close to that deadline, whatever is missing, I'm not even sure. I might be there already. But I'll fill it in when that comes around. But yeah, it's going really well. And I think that's the latest at the top of my mind right now. So yeah, back to you.
Thank you, Patty, so much. Big news, of course, this month was 400 generators being delivered. You know that we have been working on that project. It's a total of 1,073 generators was ordered actually in November. The first 400 are going in. They're already in fact, last week with our Yale graduate and medical doctor, Dr. Douglas Davis. So he was in Poland and he went with the Rotary Club of Milwaukee, who we've been working with, and he went into Ukraine. You may recall in medical school that Dr. Douglas Davis met his Ukrainian wife, who was a doctor, and they married each other. That's the tie. People ask me, why is this guy from Yale? Why does he even care? Okay. Those generators were ordered in November, long in anticipation before anybody was talking about generators in Ukraine. Those were ordered last year. And so that's happening now. But we are moving forward with Pentagon Club of Washington, D.C. They would like to buy for about $3,000 a generator for the orphanage with our members, Katarina Shirikova, and also Faraj Gilyadov, and don't forget Elena Sabri. They would like to fund, and they like what we're doing. They like the fact that we have our act together. And so they would like to pay for that and have that generator put into the orphanage where, a lot of cerebral palsy children are in Kiev. So that's our club office in Kiev. The other update that I have for you this week is going to come out in a shock and awe campaign. This will be on Thursday, photos and videos that have been made out of the Ukraine. Last week, we did another mega drop, unbeknownst to our members, in an attack campaign to drop a 20-ton truck filled with children's clothing, food, teenagers' clothing, a number of medicines, all types of baby food. This was all paid by our partner, Phoenix Foundation, for the shipping. This is like $3 to $4 grand to get a 20-ton truck to drive from Kiev to live with the driver. The petrol is not cheap. Okay. But this $3 to $4 grand, people ask me, well, like, what are we doing? Who's getting what? Where's the cash going? Who's paying for that? Did you pay for that? No, we didn't pay for that out of our club. That money for the trucking was provided by Phoenix Foundation, and that's in Kiev, who is one of our partners. And all that stuff was brought back to Kiev, and they've been distributing it all over Instagram. If you're on Instagram, you'll see their videos, you'll see their photos, you'll see the people crying. But we're going to have a huge report this week on that. And we like to keep a lot of our operations, honestly, quiet and silent, because we do know that WhatsApp is being monitored, and even the truck and where it's driving and stuff like that. People may think it's a joke, but WhatsApp has been penetrated, and they've warned actually our friends like Irina, Miss Ukraine, has warned us, watch what you say about logistics, where they're driving, what they're doing on WhatsApp. It's not a safe utility. If you want to communicate in cryptologic form, the best program to use really is Signal. So don't talk a lot about who's driving where and when they're going to arrive and what they're doing. And, even that road from Kiev to Lviv has been targeted, and you may remember the train being blown up. So big number 4, big fist in the face, okay, for our friend Vladimir. Okay, this week we got truck number 4 in. We're very close, this club, we're very close to $200,000 in logistics support, medicines, food, Legos, supplies going into Kiev. So I want to thank all of you, and especially Elaine. She donated all these candles during the program, and let me tell you, 200 some candles. Those have been being put out in the pour box here. The 24-hour, no questions asked. And Elaine, did you drop off those dried beans last night?
No, Marty, but I will. I have them sitting out ready to be loaded. I've been feeling sort of weak since I had that episode last week.
Because somebody dropped off a bunch of bags of dried beans, and Elaine also made a recent donation of food to the food box as well as clothing. So Stormy and I have been curating that every night, the 24-hour, no questions asked Rotary food bank. We've been putting stuff out there with Raina and Stormy every day. So thank you so much for supporting all of this.
I'm going to send the book to you, Elaine. I just haven't got around to it.
Let me know what I need to get to Marty to send to you. Also, the Stewards Project, Marty, I'd like to donate more, and I'll get with you on that.
Thank you so much. That'll be the last thing I mention today, because I sent out a massive choke newsletter. It was probably my biggest newsletter ever in history, Elaine. So I sent out a huge newsletter of everything we're doing. We are going to the Women in Rotary this 16th, Thursday. We will be there at the Grand Bohemian Hotel. Stormy and Raina and myself. This is a huge event, Women in Rotary. And the other big thing, of course, is Dr. Shannon Stewart's campaign for Telemedi Pro. We have to show the world what it's like to raise up money and put people in business and to crank the cash. And so she's very close right now today at hitting maybe the 63, 64, 65% mark of funding, and just $25. And we really appreciate you standing behind making Black History this year with us. Instead of celebrating Black History, we decided we wanted to make Black History this year. So this Black-owned, female-owned, veteran-owned business, we are donating everybody in the club $25 per person to it. And if you can't donate this year, totally cool, no pressure. But even if you just go on there and share it through social networks, that helps a lot too. So thank you, everybody. Any old business or new business that I talked over somebody that they wanted to get a chance to say something?
Maybe don't forget to read your magazine. Can you see it there? Read your magazine. It's quite informational, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. Read the magazine.
And to that fact, I think Patty was also making sure that our newest member, Anab Ali, was signed up and getting her magazine in the mail at her house. So, well, thank you guys. Have a great week. Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Yep. Bye.
Take care now.
Happy Valentine's Day with love.
Bye-bye.
Happy Valentine's.
I love you all. Well, there you go, guys. Rotary Club of Global Impact. Thank you so much today to our guest speaker, past District Governor Tom Smith. He always does such a fantastic job. And I mean, how nice is it of him to open his beautiful luxury home every year with his loving wife and host all types of Rotary members in from all over 2 states and the Charlotte Metrolina region. He has that event at his house every year, and they have like a big wine auction, to raise money for Rotary. So I just really thought that was super nice. And I think the technique is working because I was impressed. And I mentioned it to Stormy that, we really should go out to the Smith's house for this big polio thing that they're doing and, have some gourmet food. And I got to tell you, his bar that he had open, I love bourbon. So his bar that he had open had the finest liquors and bourbons that I had never even heard of. So I definitely got my bourbon on that day. I had a drink and we sat out on the porch, no charge to go to his event every year. So please think about it, and please think about donating to help stop polio. I've got a short video today for everybody just on polio. I'm going to end the show today and today's meeting with this polio explanation from Rotary International. And we thank you so much for all of your work worldwide in changing the earth.
Over 30 years ago, Rotary made a promise to the world, a promise that we would eradicate polio. With the help of our partners and friends, we've made incredible progress toward that goal.
So today we find ourselves on the brink of completely eradicating polio from the face of the earth. When, not if, we get there, it will be only the second time in history that a disease affecting humans has been eradicated.
The Gates Foundation believes that every child deserves a chance to live a healthy, productive life. That's why we're so excited about the partnership we have with Rotary International and the Global Polio Eradication Initiative in the final push to rid the world of polio.
The work of the Global Polio Eradication Initiative redefines what is possible. It shows what we can achieve when countries cooperate around a clear goal.
Africa, a rising continent, 1.2 billion strong, It can only be healthy with united action against preventable diseases like polio. It's important to immunize kids, not just in my own country, Nigeria, but all over the world.
Polio has been reduced by 99%, but Afghanistan is still suffering from it. Our objective is to attain the certification for a polio-free Afghanistan in 2017.
We need to be able to finish this important public health effort that so many have contributed to, and we really need your support for the end game.
We're proud to be part of this global effort to end polio forever, and we'll see it through to the end.
So please stay committed or become committed to add momentum to the final stretches.
The lives that have been changed and enhanced by the work that Rotary has done cannot be underestimated or underappreciated.
Every nation will benefit from a world without polio, and there are millions of children walking today who would otherwise be paralyzed. This is why I give my full support to this historic work.
I'm honored to join you as we walk this last mile toward our goal of a polio-free world.
Together, I'm confident we'll achieve a polio-free world. Let's drop to zero.
Let's drop to zero.
Let's drop to zero.